So the last thing you're going to need to know to be able to do the first project is you need to know a little bit about the strings in Python. So strings are just variables, but what you do is you hold text instead of holding a number, right? So for example, here is the string S1, and I'm assigning to it the word hello, okay? Now, I'm actually just assigning the word hello. That's 5 characters, Hello, okay? But then there's also these double quotes around it. And the double quotes are just there to tell Python, hey, Hello is actually just some text, okay? As opposed to, for example, the name of a variable, right? So if you said S1 equals hello without the quotes, it would think that you're trying to assign the variable hello to the variable S1. It's not what you mean. You actually want it to be Hello. That's what the quotes are for, right? So it's just like in the English language when you're writing and you want to quote somebody, you use the double quotes. You say that's what they were saying, or you might want to say the word hello has 5 letters. You would quote hello, okay? So exactly the same way. Now, the second one, S2 is equal to what is your name? You'll notice that I have single quotes instead of double quotes. You can use either, right? I tend to prefer double quotes, but it does not matter, okay? Now, the other thing I wanted you to see with that is that you can have spaces and punctuation marks and anything inside a string, okay? It's just any text that you care to have. Now, the last example also has double quotes, but the interesting thing is that inside of that is a single quote. You can do that, right? That's one of the nice things about having 2 ways of quoting strings. If you want to have single quotes or apostrophes inside your string, use double quotes to quote it. If for some reason you want to have double quotes inside your string, use single quotes to quote it, okay? And I do want to point out that if you want to have a quote, you can also say backslash and then the double quote. And what that means is this is a literal quotation symbol. Don't interpret this as being the end of the string, right? This is actually a quotation symbol that is inside the string. So this is double quotes carry, okay? And again, because I've run out of room, so I end the string, okay? So so you see you can actually have quotes inside strings if you need them, okay? You won't for what we're doing, but for the future use. Okay, if you have strings, you can do some operations of strings, right? So let's say that S1 is equal to hello, and I'm assuming that it's hello lowercase. So length, parentheses S1, that is saying what is the length of S1? Len is just short for length, and it's how you can find the length of something in Python. The length of a string is how many characters does it have, right? So hello, Hello, that is 5 characters. The length of S1 is hello, is equal to 5. Now, something you can do in Python that you can't do in other languages, right, is you can actually multiply strings by positive integers, okay? If you do that, what you're saying is I want that string copied that number of times. So 2 times S1 is hello, right? Because I took the string hello and I copied it twice. Notice there's no space between hello and hello. It is literally the string twice, okay? You can actually combine strings by adding them, okay? If you add strings, what you mean is one and then the other one. So for example, S1 plus, notice that's quoted, world. So world is a string, W-O-R-L-D. It's not a variable, right? So in here, the result is hello world. Again, notice there's no space because we said S1 plus world. If you wanted a space, you could have said double quote space world, for example, or even S1 plus quote space quote plus world. Okay, you can do any of those to get the result. Okay, now something else you can do to a string is you can actually get some of the pieces inside of it, some of the letters. So like S1 is hello, and I use square brackets to get the pieces of something. Get used to that notation. These square brackets are going to come back. Okay, you know this is a kind of syntax we're going to get used to. So S1 and then square bracket. Inside of that we put the number 1. What we mean is the letter at position 1. I set at position 1 for a reason as opposed to the first letter. Because what we do is the position of the letter starts at 0. Okay? So S1 sub 0 is actually H. S1 sub 1 is actually E. Okay? That's just the way it is. Notice those are quoted because those are strings, right? So S1 sub 1 is E, S1 sub 0 is H. That's how you can get at any particular letter. Okay? Now you can also get at a range of letters. So S1 1:3, okay? That means start at position 1 and end right before position 3. Okay? So it's like the range function, You start here and then you go up to that, but not including that. Okay, so we do not include the character of position 3. We start at 1 and we go up to but not including 3. That is 1 and 2. H is 0, E is 1, L is 2. That's why we get EL. Okay. Now you can actually leave out the upper range. So if you say 2 colon, you mean start at 2, go all the way to the end. That would be starting at 2. H is 0, E is 1. The first L is 2, so it's L, L, O. Okay, so you can also say S1 colon 3. That means start at the beginning and go all the way up to, but not including the element of position 3. So actually I got this one wrong. That should have been HEL, okay? Not just HE. Because it is up to, but not including position 3, so it is 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so the mistake I made was in my mind I said, oh, it's up to but not including the third letter. That's just H and E. Wrong, right? It's not third letter. It is position 3, and it start counting at 0. Be careful with that. You see that I made a mistake. Okay, all right. So let's look at this little exercise here. I'm going to do something similar to before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count the number of vowels, that is A, E, I, O, or U, okay, in a string. So how can I do that? Well, the basic strategy is the same that we always do for counting, right? So we start a thing at 0, and then we have some kind of a condition, and then we'll add 1 to our counter if the condition is true. It's always the same kind of strategy, okay? So I need to look at each letter. That's what we're trying to do, right? I know range, okay? And I also know the length function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, I goes range of length of S, right? That's right here, okay? So how does that work? Well, length of S is just however many characters S has. That's a lot of characters, okay? And then we're going to go range of that. Range is going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, up to the length of S, okay? Now remember that when I look at S sub I, which I'm going to do here, okay, then what I'm doing is I'm looking at not the ith letter, but the letter in position I starting at 0. Okay, so the first time I is going to be 0 because that's the way range works. And so S sub I will be the M, the first letter. The second time I will be 1 and S sub I will be the letter of position I, which is actually the second letter, that's the Y, and so on. The very last time I will have the value that is the length of S minus 1. And when I do S sub I, what do I get? The very last letter, right? So S sub I, if you use this range len combination, will actually go through each letter in the string. Doesn't that work pretty cool, right? Those two kind of work together. That's because they both agree with the convention that we start counting at 0, right? So we should just always use that convention so that things work out. Okay. So if that is equal to A, or that is equal to E, or that is equal to I, and so on, then n vowels goes out by 1. That's how I count the number of vowels. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, I want to say one last thing about this. A lot of students write this. S sub I is equal to A or B or C, right? For example, okay? Don't do that, okay? That is a huge mistake. Because what does OR do? OR operates on Booleans, right? OR combines true and false with another true and false. So SI equal to A, that is true or false. Okay? B is not true or false. B is a letter. What does true or B mean? I don't know, right? What's true and B, right? So don't do that, okay? You actually have to say or S sub I is equal to B, right? So that is just a trap that a lot of students fall into. I'm letting you know ahead of time so you can avoid this trap. Okay. All right, so let's kind of end this by talking about printing the output, because that's what I'm asking you to do. Not just compute the number of primes, but to print. There are so many primes from 1 to 100. Okay. So the way that you print is by using a special function, just like range, just like len, okay, called print. You say print parentheses and then whatever it is you want to print. Now, what I mean by print, that's actually going to show up in the console. Okay. So when you're running Python, you'll see that there's a section that is called the console, which is where you can type stuff in to see what it is, and you can also see the results of code that is executing. So you execute the code, and that's where that string will show up. That's what printing means. In the old days, it meant printing to an actual printer, right? And that's because we used to program writing in a keyboard, and everything else would go to some kind of printer that was in another office, right? The name has stuck. It's kind of a little weird, but that's what it is, okay? So if you want to output something from your program, you use print. And notice that you can use print on a number, a string, anything that you have, okay? By the way, you can say x comma 3, then it'll print both x and 3, but you're not going to need that for this lab, okay? Now, the other thing that we need to do is we need to create something that says there are so many numbers, primes between. And to do that, you need to kind of create a custom string. You need to build it on the fly because we don't know how many numbers there are. We only know that when we execute the code. And Python lets us do that by having a string right here, which I guess I'm going to call the pattern. It's a pattern, okay? So hi, comma, and then notice this open and close curly brace. Hi, comma, that's a way of telling Python something's going to go here, right? So hi, John, exclamation mark. It's been so many days since I see you. It's been 3 days since I see you. It's been 5 days since I see you, right? I don't know how many days it is, okay? So then we have this kind of pattern string, and we say dot format, okay? Dot format is the way, Python is saying, hey, these are the values that are going to take the place of those open and closed braces. So the first one is going to be Ruben, that's my name. The second one is going to be 10, okay? So it will say, hi, Ruben, right? That was the first curly brace. It's been, and then the other curly brace, 10 days, right? So you see that the Ruben went here, and the 10 went here, okay? That's where those curly braces were. Okay, that's how we get nice formatted output. Okay, so you'll want to do that to say there are so many primes from 1 to 100. And of course, you're supposed to print it. You probably figured this out on your own, but the way that we print it is by saying print and then your nice little format pattern, dot format, and then the values that you're going to need. Okay, so this is something you might see in a game, a guessing game. Sorry, but whatever you said is not the right answer. Try again.